Getting it real with RealChunWai on the hottest topics, frank, engaging and candid. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Good evening, Malaysia and followers from around the world. The GE15 result has given Pakatan Harapan the most number of seats at 82. Perikatan Nasional has 73 seats, but PAS went from 18 in GE14 to over 40 in GE15. PAS is the biggest winner in terms of the number of seats performance. So what has happened? Was there a green tsunami? What is the impact of a strong PAS in multiracial Malaysia? Has this trend been building up over the years, which many of us in Klang Valley, the Bangsa crowd, did not notice the quiet build-up of the religious factor in the East Coast and in the Malay areas? Joining us tonight is political analyst, author and businessman, and my friend, Anas Zubedy. Welcome, sir.
Welcome, brother Chunwai.
All right.
Hello to everyone. Good evening. Salam sejahtera. Yeah, it's been a very interesting few days.
Yeah. Tak cukup tidur.
Yes, yeah.
Anas, now I just want to start this conversation by asking for your views on the general response, of yours to the GE15 results.
Yeah, well, it was an exciting result for me because I remember I was saying that I see it as a green, what you call gelombang hijau. No, I don't see it as a tsunami. I see it as more of gelombang anti rasuah. But the Malays, generally the Malays, not all of you are talking generalization, the Malays express it via PAS, and the majority of PAS or PN, National, whereas generally the non-Malays, non-Muslim, they actually express it via Pakatan Harapan. So although I think many are more shocked because you said there's a huge jump in the numbers of seats for PAS, but we should look at it more of almost the entire country. There was a no to Barisan National. Yeah, I think that's what we should pick up first, and then we can divide and study separately. PAS and Pakatan Harapan and Perikatan Nasional. Yeah.
The reason why we're having this conversation is because the Anas Zubedy has been constantly and regularly talking about the rising PAS factor, the emergence of the ulama's, and how the Malay heartland has been influenced and turning to PAS. Now, you brought up, of course, the question of non-Malays, especially Chinese, voting for Pakatan Harapan because of this displeasure and unhappiness for the corruption which Barisan Nasional has been associated with. While the Malays, they chose Perikatan Nasional for Bersatu or for PAS. But I also have an interesting question here. Okay, now, in Permatang Pau, Nurul Izzah lost to a ustaz with an Islamic credential who studied for his Islamic diploma or degree from Al-Azhar University in Egypt, and that while in the Tambun, while it was Beja contesting, it was interesting because at some point, UMNO was actually trailing, and many thought that was there going to be an upset that night. Yeah, and Syed Siddiq had the same pattern. He won narrowly. Now, we are here talking about mostly we're talking about here a lot of Malay votes in this area, and of course even the Wan Saiful contesting and he won on behalf of Bersatu. Now Chinese areas, in contested the BAP, it's quite clear the Chinese pick DAP, but in these Malay areas they didn't give the votes to the PKR personalities. They gave it to PN, whether Bersatu or PAS. Why do you think that this happened?
You see, Junwai, you remember I always say for a long time that when the Malays are unsure, especially if they're unsure about whether should I vote for UMNO, they will actually swing to PAS. Yeah, and that's been consistent. You can see it happening many, many times. For a simple reason is we have to understand that the Malays are looking for certainties. Who can actually take care of them? They feel that at least, if they vote for PAS or Perikatan Nasional, they feel that this is a group of people who can express their feelings. Just like I said earlier, the Malay Muslim express their displeasure about corruption via the Islamic ethos. Not via the modern way of looking of fighting corruption using more Western method. So PAS or rather Perikatan Nasional, including Bersatu, they have managed to explain to the people at the ground level, the Malays, that Islam is an answer to this displeasure that you have about corruption. Now we must remember that over the last many months, both the churches and the mosques, on Friday prayers and also during Sundays, we call it Saturday and Sundays, have been talking about to the congregation, no to corruption, no to corruption, to the corruption, in the language that they understand. So, when you look at what you call, maybe again, we have to look into details, but we look at Permatang Power, they may see, many may see that, someone like Perikatan Nasional or PAS would probably bring up the matter more in the language they understand, more in their ethos that they are so familiar with, rather than someone aligned to PKR or Pakatan Harapan, which has DAP. So I think this is where many, I think you said earlier correctly, for the last 15 years, 20 years, I've been saying the same thing. Slowly but surely, PAS will move forward, and capture the imagination of the majority of Malay Muslims.
When you first brought up this subject many months back, about the green, the Thai. Yes. Actually, I was a bit cynical too, okay? I think I remember telling you that, oh, no, it's not going to happen. Where, they had 18 seats. And then even the posters, the survey says that, no, PN is not going to do too well. No, PH is going to win like crazy, okay? Why do you think that everybody missed this very quiet changes, the very quiet things that was happening in the Malay heartland? Why is it that everybody miss it? At least for the people who are conducting surveys.
Yeah, you see, the thing is the posters probably have wishful thinking. I can be wrong. Wishful thinking. I think majority of the posters are people who do not want PAS to be in power. And wishful thinking or hope is very powerful in making us design even our sampling size or to confirm what we want. You see, it's very important that when we study the market, be it for business world like fast-moving consumer goods or in politics, that we take away our emotion without our emotional attachment to our likes or dislikes, and study the subject concern. And we should not project what we think should happen. We should actually go and feel what they feel at the marketplace. Now, I think many do not do that. Now, you see, I prefer to study the market, not study what I want. And that's the reason, remember even the last election when I say that Barisan Nasional will lose, most people would just tell me to, you get lost. But you see, that's the issue. Similarly here, I think those who are doing polling, they are very much more, I shouldn't use the word bangsa crowd, more actually townsfolk, who somehow or another feel that, oh, this PAS is too far away. I don't think I want them here. I don't want them to. So we don't want them to, many do not want them to win, And that can cheat us, our mind can cheat us. And I feel that's what's happening. You're right, Chunwai, when I told a few people that, I think PN will actually have a big jump, but I didn't expect so big a good jump as well. I thought it would be like maybe 60 seats, but they got more than 70 plus.
Anas, you actually brought a very good point. Let us try to remember the American, the US presidential election. We have we had the CNN. Everybody else predicted that there was no way that Trump could make it. Correct. So we had all these surveys by CNN, so-called very complicated, very complex, very scientific. They all says no, Democrats would win, And then when it was all over on that night, they were really shocked that Trump won. So later after the election, they tried to find out actually where did we actually go wrong. And then the CNN says that, look, I think that we did not listen hard enough to the American heartland. We did not listen to the rural crowd because we had no people in the rural heartland. All our resources were concentrated in New York, Washington, D.C., and LA, but never in the heartland because these people, these so-called rednecks, they were not there and they try and they begin to believe in their own survey, as you said, in their own narrative. Now, I'm trying to understand this as well, because that for the benefit of our viewers, you know, these urban lands, okay, our worldview, and especially among the Chinese, okay, now, so they see this huge mega drama in Penang and in Klang Valley, and then they read on social media mostly in English, okay, and the narrative in English, and then they find that, wow, this big crowd, I see Malays there too also. Oh, I mean, these are the Malays from urban areas which have voted PKR anyway, right? So I see this rising huge crowd. Sure, when sure. I mean, a lot of us says that, yeah, they would do well, but there was no way they could get 112, okay, PH, but probably 80. But again, nobody wanted to believe, because that after a while, when you push through this narrative and your belief that you have built in that it will be 112, I did an interview on this program with Professor Shafaruki about the possibility of a hung parliament, and that we says that it's going to hit that way. It was before polling,
yes.
And then that when I look through the comments, many says this is a productive interview. You know, it's a fertile exercise, because this is just pure academic. Because
Correct.
PH will get 112. Okay.
Yes.
So okay. This is the divide. Okay, this divide. This is the divide that the urban areas are very fearful of PAS. We have read a lot of news about some of the things that they have announced. No Bon Uduri, you cannot have this, you cannot have that. And then on the other hand, you have the very quiet Malay crowd, very religious, a very PAS type, you know. And they say that we can't accept GAP, okay? We are very uncomfortable. Would we lose our Malay rights? In fact, that Anwar himself has said in his gatherings and meetings with the Malay crowd, the most frequently asked question was, if I vote for UPH, would I be marginalized? Would I lose my rights as a Bumi Putra? Would I lose all this privilege, you know? This, and you're too liberal. These were the questions which kept cropping up. Why do you think that Malaysia is unable to see and understand each other? Everybody look from their point of view, from their own lens. Why?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that we have not done right, Chunwai, is understanding the history of the land. And understanding what should be the flavor of the country, or at least the flavor of Tanah Melayu, Sabah, Sarawak. And I think this is a topic that we brought up many years, for many times. The moment you are aligned to a political party like DAP that calls Malaysian Malaysia, which many feel that you want to equalize the Malay culture with the other culture, is a no-go for the Malays. The Malay culture in Peninsular Malaysia must be the central culture. The rest actually can play what you call supporting actors and actresses. You cannot equalize it, and they can see it that, you know, down south. Yes, all the 4 languages are supposed to be the national languages in Singapore, but most people can't speak Malay anyway. Now, similarly, one day we will go back. You know, we are looking at it only from a peninsular point of view. You go to Sabah, for example, in the Kadazan area, the Kadazan culture must be the central culture. You cannot equalize Kadazan culture even with the Malay culture, you know. So these are the things I think we still don't understand. So when they are asking this question, when the Malays, I would say, ask this question, they are saying that, are we going to lose the identity of this country? Now, for the Malays, that's a huge thing. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. And I think that's what something that, you know, if let's say a party like GAP wants to, what you call, win the hearts of the Malays, they have to come back and reflect on that. Similarly, you know, Chunwai, if PAS wants, you see, this is the cute thing, you know, Chunwai. Last time we used to say that to win the federal, you must take, you must have the support of the rural. But today, for the PAS, the opposite. No? If they ever want to win the federal power, they have to have the support of the urbanites. So for them, the exact opposite. So PAS have to stop doing such nonsense also lah. For example, a vote for PAS is undi PAS, you masuk syurga. By implication, if you don't vote for PAS, you go to hell. Right? So things like these are not acceptable, not just for non-Muslims, but also for many Muslims. So things like this are quite nonsensical, and I'm hoping that this will open their eyes. They say that, hey, you know what? I have to cut down on all these, nonsensical way of selling Islam. I want to also win the hearts of, the moderates, or you want to use the word moderates, and also the non-Muslims. And I pass, I hope we'll see it now, because they say, wow, I got 49, but I can't run, I can't take over the country unless I can win the rest. And don't forget Sabah and Sarawak. You see the noises coming from Sarawak now. Yeah,
Anas, the results, the inconclusive and the fragmented results of G15 resulting in a hung parliament. So we had these three big coalitions. So the lesson to learn from here is that really nobody in Malaysia, no political parties, or no coalitions can actually form a government in a very conclusive way unless you are seen as a moderate force, accepted by all races. So in this case, we had this, rather rightly or wrongly, so we have this PH perceived to be very dominated by DAP. After all, DAP had around 40 seats, and that the fear over there. And then again, you have this, while PN is Bersatu and PAS, again, people say, oh, it's actually PAS who's going to dominate Bersatu. So at the end of the day, you find that no one is able to really form a government unless that there's a consensus, at least a broad and a general consensus. Coming back to that, as to why Malaysians have grown up quite differently, okay? Both of us grew up in Penang, very cosmopolitan. We had the benefit of the English education. So the English school was always considered the neutral ground. We had friends from all races. That seems to be all gone. Perhaps a little way in Chinese school, because Chinese schools unbelievably has become more multiracial than Sekolah Kebangsaan. Okay, so then you have Sekolah Kebangsaan. Then also you have this Pondok school, and in Sekolah Kebangsaan we have a lot of complaints. Okay, that the schools have become more religious. The religious teacher seems to be more powerful than the headmaster or the headmistress. She or he decides. Oh, there should be no what do you call it, the cheering squad. Because you're wearing skirt. Do you think that the education, the situation has perhaps caused some of this situation to be what it is? The Chinese becoming more Chinese, or the Malays becoming more Malays, more religious. Do you think that's a factor?
I think one of the most, I think is one of the big factors, because you see, unlike we in Penang and many places in the town centers, we have early socialization. That we have to deal, and actually, we have to even learn how to smell. Each other's smell is different. I just use the words. I use smell as an example. That is a big thing. I mean, I'm sure you myself, we go to an Indian house or Malay house or Chinese house, we got no issue, because the smell is normal. You see, the thing is, I think we do need to look into that. How do we socialize our young early, but you think the thing is this, ChunWai, the revival of Islam is not just a Malaysian, unique to Malaysia. The Islamic revival of Islam is about 200 years. It is after the Muslim world gone out of the yoke of colonization, for example, as they move out. You can study, for example, Maududi, the more conservative one. We have Sir Muhammad Iqbal, more maybe you say modern one, you call it more moderate ones. And since 1979, when the Iran Revolution happened, there was actually an impetus. The Muslim world have wow, and then when Afghanistan, all these are actually giving the Malays, especially the young Malays today, a new energy, and they want actually to express their new way of feelings, or making things changes, or moving forward and better things from an Islamic terms, Islamic ethos. And we need to actually accept the idea, that happened. Just like, for example, some Chinese now are feeling very proud because China is growing, right? So this will happen whether you like it or not. Malaysia will get more and more Islamic flavor. But what flavor of Islam is the issue? So this is where, I think you and I have the same concern. If let's say we have only Malays as opposition, and all, they see the other side as so-called secular and all that, then the debates will go which way. And similarly, the other way around. So that's the reason why, I think it's very good for us to have, some kind of, ways that these two groups of people to come and work together, get conflict, but deal with the conflict. When we grew up separately, we never had conflict. I mean, in Penang, My Chinese friend will call me funny names. I call them funny names. So we had a conflict much earlier. And then, for example, when people who are close to me, they can call me in funny names like Honna, something else. But I will laugh because it's a friend. But if somebody I don't know do that to me, I can get, hey, why you say that to me? So similarly, we need to create all that, we need to have conflict, but conflict in terms of how we work together, how to achieve a goal together. So the goal must be very clear. The conflicts will be there. But we've been avoiding all this. And that's an issue.
You know that the parliament, regardless of who will form the government, whether in opposition or whether they're in government, it would not be healthy if either side is dominated by one race. It must be really racially mixed and diverse. Then so it doesn't really matter whether in government or in opposition. So it'll be more diverse, and I think that that would be healthy for Malaysia and so forth. Okay, mention about education just a bit. Okay, now because you mentioned some very interesting thing. What is lacking in Malaysia, as far as this is just my feeling now. We need to actually, for the sake of Malaysia and for the sake of our country and our children, there are things that just cannot be changed. Okay, now the Malaysia will become more predominantly Muslim. Okay, Islam will be really a factor. If you're opening a restaurant or anything, it doesn't make sense for you, for example, even for a non-Malay, if you choose to be a non-halal, because by expansion, if you become halal, you have a bigger market. So that's reality, really reality. But what is missing, I think, is because the school can make one to grow up to be very toxic, or make it to be more moderate. Okay, now I use the word moderate in a very broad sense, because that the fear of Islam, the fear of Chinese, that a lot of these are really unnecessary fears, really unnecessary. If only our school were to teach look, its commonalities in religion, whether it's Islam, Hindu, or Christianity, they all said common things. The thing for being compassionate, to tolerate, to be patient, to be forgiving. All these are in all this religion, right? But unfortunately, that or rightly or wrongly, or whether it's real or not, that the perception is that one group tend to put down another group. There's less emphasis on commonalities, but more on, mine is more superior than yours, so it becomes a competition. But we need to find that common ground. Okay, they are different paths, but it all leads to one direction. So what is our view on that kind of approach to get Malaysians to understand and see each other? I know that even in Singapore, okay, schools organize visits for the kids to go to a mosque, go to a Chinese temple, or go to a church, go to a Sikh temple. That is not happening in Malaysia. We need that kind of approach. What is your view?
Yeah, I'm for it. I think if you want to use the word inclusive, we need to have a more inclusive view. As I suggested earlier, this country, or most Muslim-based majority country, will get more and more Islamic. But what we want to do is to make sure we promote the Islamic what you call inclusivity, which is very strong in the Quran, and strong in the history of Islam, is very strong. The issue is, of course, when a Muslim who are not confident, when you still feel you are small, you have to fight that huge. Let's say the Chinese are much richer, or the Christian has very much powers, because all over the world they have all this socialization. So what will happen is, when people feel like that, if they don't have confidence with themselves, they will tend to be exclusive. By being exclusive, at least the other party will not listen to the other side, which is actually happening in the country. Not just in terms of religious side, in terms of politics also. Even politics is extremely exclusive here. It's like so much so that it's quite silly. So if you support the party, anyone say anything good with the other party, you'll be condemned. So we need to be more inclusive. And I completely agree with you. One of the best place to do is the school system. But it's a big issue. How do we do that? How willing, what type of political will do we have?
And when the divide becomes very strong, then that a lot of people lose their objectivity and they become very irrational in a way they argue or talk about the case. So I'm beginning to sense that, okay, I'm beginning to pick that up, that people are not able to discuss issues in a very respectable manner, yes, we can have a different opinion, but I will respect your right to speak, I will talk to you in a way that I show respect, not in very loud, uncouth way, but I feel that this is happening. I also want to ask you for your views, okay, because I know a lot of non-Muslims do not know this because that they do not follow Malay social media. They do not follow the Malay and Bahasa Malaysia content. Over the years, maybe decade, okay, that there has been this emergence of what they call it, the Malay preacher, Islamic preacher, okay, pendawat bebas, and they speak from all kinds of things, okay. I mean that many of them have got celebrity status, okay. Malay Muslims, okay, get hooked watching them speak about all kinds of things, okay, in their social media and in the program, okay, and that some are very comical, some are very silly, some is outrageous, but some are very influential. But the fact remains that it's a phenomenon, huge. I mean, we talk about Ibit Liu. I mean, he's got a few million of followers, okay. And what does he do? He just go around giving food, okay. He show his compassionate side, he hugs everybody. And even for me, I'm hooked, okay. I'm a non-Muslim, I'm a hook, okay. So I find this very interesting, but not everybody would appreciate or follow this kind of thing. Tell me about the views of this emergence of these very powerful forces.
I think this emergence of all these so-called, let's say the word preacher or celebrity preacher,
yeah, preacher,
is the what you call the impact of modernization. When I went to when I went to go to US, and both my sisters in US. In the US, so they have many of these amazing preachers that makes millions and millions of dollars. They got their own aeroplane and all that, right? Own private jets. So in Malaysia, it's beginning to happen that way. And the flowering of this place, and now even by fruit, I would say now fruiting also now, is because of the social media. Social media. I think it is a norm that this will happen. And there'll be fashionable people every now and then, and everybody is looking for an answer. And like you're right, some of them will talk about family, some will talk about this, but there are people who talk about how the other side is very bad. Be careful. There will be, but it's actually quite a wide subject, so I would say that it's just a societal what you call media what you call that, disembarkation. It's not. I don't think it's something like. I don't think those people who are extremely extreme and all that. The government should just get them, regardless of any religion. But I think I don't think that will stop. It will be very fashionable for a while. And you look at the TikTok and all that, it's not just, I think the one that get the most attention are actually the funny, nonsensical, so there are some religious people and all that. But like you say, Abid Liu, you do good stuff and all that, and people will follow you. But again, all these come back to one theme that I'm saying. Why are so many of these preachers or celebrity people at the ground level, they're getting so much attention? Because they use the Islamic flavor. In other words, there are many Malay Muslims, not just here in Malaysia, in all Muslims around the world. There is a sense of revivalism. There's a sense that they want to rekindle the glory of Islam. They want to actually, express, the beauty of Islam. They want to show that Islam can be the answer to the world problem. Currently, maybe they do it in some crude way, or maybe some of them may not know how to do it in the best way possible. But they will find their way. That's my opinion. They will find their way. And for PAS, for example, they are no longer, I would say, a party of ulama. You'll be very surprised that there's so many PAS people I know, they are actually professionals. The guy who ran in Lembah Pantai, he was actually a businessman. The PAS guy, he's not an ulama. And PAS also, sooner or later, will realize if they want to become the prime minister of the country, lead the country, they need to have someone not as an ulama as the number one guy. They need someone who is both an ulama and also a professional. If they remain to have just an ulama, the person probably cannot be accepted. But within PAS, if you are only a professional, you may not be accepted. So they need to have this combination. Sooner or later, they'll come from maybe PAS or even from Barisan Nasional or PKR or from even Perikatan, a new hero, the hero or the Muslim hero that is like, who has a combination of what you call the Islamic, what you call knowledge plus the worldly knowledge. Now, and that actually is Prophet Muhammad, and maybe they don't realize it yet. Prophet Muhammad wasn't just a religious leader, he was also a secular leader. He actually was a businessman. He runs the, not only him, his second man, Abu Bakr, all of them were not religious leader as you see it, as you see it today. They are actually people who actually run businesses and then, gave away all their money to help run the country.
One interesting observation, Putrajaya, the seat of government, Barisan Nasional lost. Okay, now it used to be that if you have this government servant, the bank of secured deposit, fixed deposit, Putrajaya, sure win. Okay, give them a lot of allowances, bonuses, and yet Barisan Nasional lost. Okay, and then Lumut, we have a naval base there. If you are standing for Barisan previously, sure win. But 2 elections have gone, Barisan lost. Okay, and then the Felda scheme, the fixed deposit, all gone. Okay? So which means that UMNO has actually lost its traditional base. That's one. Second thing I want to ask is this.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
The month before they announced the election, we had a talk in Zubedy Taylors have a talk about possibility of when is election and all that. Now at that point of time, I suggested about a month before the election was announced, if they go into Barisan Nasional go into election soon, they'll be crazy. That's what I said. Now, one of the reasons why Barisan Nasional UMNO lost is not because the PAS have not become stronger. They have become weaker too. That's one. Number one is they were not prepared. This is the first time UMNO went into election unprepared, not united. So the two things are, for those who are listening here, this is not something I say after the results out. This is before the election. There are two mistakes that UMNO did. Number one is they delayed their internal election for a new leader. On the pretext that they do not want to have what you call division. The truth is, because they didn't do that, they had a division. Okay. Number two is, their mistake is they call the election now when they themselves are not ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just launched the budget. The budget has not gone down to the ground. Nobody felt the goodness of the budget. Number three, there was no one leader in UMNO that can say as an anchor person. Ismail Sabri was starting to get, the Raya was beginning to warm up to him, and then that, and they did another 6 months to 8 months. Remember, we were talking about they could have done it in September. So one of the biggest mistakes they did, UMNO did. That's why they lost even what you call Putrajaya, because they are not ready, and they were killing each other. They sent a hero like KJ to a place that he had to fight like crazy, which is I'm quite sad because I was hoping KJ will be Nurul Izzah also. I'm quite sad she's not there. I mean, you and I, we want to have good talents in the country.
Talented people. I know that you were reminding Malaysians that look, vote for calon. Don't vote for a party, because in all these parties they may have conflicting ideology and they're competitors, but they are good people in all these parties.
So UMNO was not ready, and that's the reason why they got trashed. They were not ready. They were not united. You don't see them moving as one. Before, and they that's the reason why they lost pretty badly. I mean, if let's say they were a little bit more organized, if let's say they wait maybe 6 months to 8 months, I don't think they would have lost until this much. They could have, maybe they still lose, but not until so low. I was quite surprised. I told, when my friends asked me, I say, busuk, they will get 50 lah, because historically they have delivered 60, 70, 80, so I thought 50. But because they are unpreparedness, that's the reason why. And I think they should rethink, they should reflect what they should do. And they cannot allow, they must always think for the party, not for any individuals. You do that, your party will die.
Do you think that the results, the inconclusive results of this election, perhaps it's time for all the parties to really sit down and do some serious soul searching? obviously that the always, we've always said that the always should not continue, but yet they kept the old ways, okay? They keep on doing the old ways. So like, for example, the DAP, they knew that they were being seen as a Chinese racialist party. They started to recruit a lot of Malays. And I think they have done it quite well in getting the number of Malays. And then, of course, that in the case of PAS, non-Malays and non-Muslim will continue to be fearful of them. Okay,
Right.
The utterances and statements by one or two leaders, okay, frightens a lot of people.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Yeah.
So people equate them with Taliban. They get very angry when people call them Taliban, but you continue to frighten off Malaysians. So do you think that, like in the case of the DAP, well, they have a lot of young professional, they have joined the party, okay, as you said, but the optics, okay, the picture that people see when they see PAS, they see ustaz, they see people in turbans, okay, they see Hadi Awang. Do you think that, I mean, look, that some of these old leaders, okay, very hardcore leaders, hardliners, do you think they should actually make way to make themselves look more presentable, more acceptable, like what has happened in Turkey, right? Turkey, Erdogan is actually seen as somebody very modern, right? But he uses the Islamic way as well. What is your view on that?
Well, I feel that it's not how they dress that make people feel that way. The dressing is just a small part of it. I think is what they talk about, how they carry themselves, how they come out with some, like you say sometimes come out with some real silly statements,
Yeah.
So I think I believe PAS will learn from this. PAS have people like Taqiuddin, who's a very modern guy. He was my senior in the university.
Oh, okay.
Law graduate. They have many. I know people who pass for the modernists. Sorry, I shouldn't use the word modernist. They are more. They are not.
Reformist.
Yeah. You see, the thing is, I got no issue with people wear sarban and all that. You have to understand, my grandfather from Middle East. I mean, that's how my grandfather dressed, right? So I got no issue with that. I know some very beautiful people. Like, for example, for me, when I meet someone like the Archbishop Julian, the way he dressed, I kind of like it. I find resonance with people who dress up like that. I find resonance people dress up in, like, for example, a Buddhist, what you call that, the orange Buddhist outfit. So I don't think it's that. It's the way you talk, the way you deal with people, the way you do policies and all that. Now, I think you said something very interesting. You look at the young what you call DAP people, and some of them got it. Yeah, Hana Yo is one of them. Hana Yo has no issue dressing in a tudong and all that. Yeah, and that is sooner or later, even DAP or all the non-Muslim party will realize they have to come to terms to Islamization and Malayization. We need to be more Malay and more Islam, without losing our own identities. Yeah, we need to. And when you go to Sabah and Sarawak, if I go to Iban, I try to be like as Iban as possible. Correct. Although when my friend offered me to drink the tuak, I say sorry, I don't drink lah. But still, and you notice the younger version of DAP people, Hana Yo being one of them, who understood the need of such sensitivity. Yeah, and I believe that as slowly as you said, the older crowd. I think, let's be honest, DAP people don't quite trust DAP because of the Lim family, and if they can come to Anthony Lok has a lot of positive comments. Anthony Lok. So Hana Yo is another one. Chin Tong, for example. Ong Kian Ming. These people who has some actually kind of they do talk about Malaysia. But that's a step forward. They at least are okay, with the hanging out among, I say, non-very core Chinese. So similarly, I believe PAS have to do the same. PAS have to come out. PAS have to start thinking how Muhammad did it. The Prophet actually is not just a religious leader. He was also a secular leader. The Prophet Muhammad, one of the first things he did was he created the what you call Piagam Madinah. And ChunWai, in Piagam Madinah, Madinah Charter, what you call that, charter, it says that the Muslim and non-Muslim is, what you call it, Ummah Wahidah, one single community, It's not that the Muslim one community, they one community. In other words, he write, Prophet Muhammad loves to do what you call agreement, or covenants, and make people come and work together. And they have to start to think like that if they ever want to become more inclusive, leader. And I'm hoping that they learn from this issue that right now they have 149 seats, and then there are so many people who were, they were like, crazy. You look at the social media now. These are the people who were cursing someone like, Zahid Hamidi, and now they are, he's like their savior. The fear. It's funny. So
it's funny.
It's very funny for me because actually I'm a little bit naughty. I put there, my friends who used to condemn me when I say, remotely something positive about Barisan Nasional UMNO, but now are big time supporters. But for us, you must watch it carefully. Say, why are these people willing to, embrace someone they hated so much? Because they so fear you. If I'm past, I should stop and think and reflect. And the Arabic word is muhasabah, You must look inside, say, what kind of Islam has I shown to these people that they so fear me? Isn't Islam a beautiful religion? So I may have done something wrong. So I better look at it and, really, explain Islam and behave in Islam in the way the Prophet did, that, during the Prophet's time, people who wants to kill him, converted into Islam. So these are the things people like you and I hope lah.
Thank you. I just to follow up what you said. So I agree with you. This is a chance for the 40 over past MPs. I think it would really help if these MPs and these, especially the young leaders that have emerged in the party, if they will have more engagement, more meetings, and to even attend the functions, the festivity of the other non-Muslims who are Malaysians, your fellow Malaysians, okay? Your Malaysians who are in the city, in Sabah, in Sarawak, in Penang, and everywhere. That if you believe that you're from past and you represent Malaysians, okay, and not just the Muslims, and it'll be very sad if they refuse to engage because they think, look, the Chinese did not vote for me. Why should I even bother with them? Then that is a very, very short-term, very myopic of things. Because at the end of the day, we are all Malaysians, and it's important, as Anna said, that we need to understand and to learn from each other. And in all regions, there's always the beauty and the commonalities and the shared values in all of us. I think that Malaysians have actually has actually been one of the most stable country in the world because our tolerance level is superb, okay? And I think that we are very good at the conflict management, okay? And we show respect. But for all the noises and the whining and the grumbling like tonight, I think that the fact that Anas and I can talk in a very civil manner, okay? That we are friends, shows that we are able to move on from Malaysia. Thank you, Anas. It's been a pleasure having you on board. Yes, Anas and I share the same Hokkien name, Ahui. Yes.
And maybe the if the past people can be more friendly with the Chinese, they will have some Chinese name too. Maybe good. and the Chinese from DAP can have some some Malay names, some. So it'd be interesting, not just the DAP Chinese lah, all of us, let's have some Malay names too, or Tamil names, why not?
So Anas, we shall meet next week when it's all over to have our favorite nasi kandar.
Yes.
Good night. Thank you, everybody. Good night, Malaysia.
Good night, Malaysia. Salam sejahtera.